1. I am the facility manager for my building. Everything that happens and goes wrong is my responsibility, so I make sure everything runs smoothly. My boss had made it clear it's my building and I was hired to not only keep people in line, but run everything. I'm not a dick, but I hold people accountable, forcibly but politely. There was no facility manager for a long time before I came along, and both clients and employees run amok, with no order. In the 4 months I've been here, my boss has praised my performance and has gone to bat for me countless times. She's the best boss I've ever had. I've got a firm but fair approach, and my reputation reflects that. I've got a Karen in the building, and trust me, the name stereotype applies. Who's just a counselor for family services. Has nothing to do with our group. She likes to complain about everything and gives my boss a headache almost daily. She shares an office with another woman who's unfortunately picking up on her Karen tendencies. Karen in training. Or Kit. I've been doing a keycard audit all week, and I knew to leave Karen's keycard alone because she's the only Karen in the building, so her name stands out. I am missing 75 keycards. Lots of former employees having all-door access, dating all the way back to 2015. Can't have that, so I deleted a lot of them, especially if it had a wacky name or just a room number. However, I did delete Kit's card information because it wasn't under her name. She just came to tell me her keycard wasn't working, and Karen happened to be passing by and overheard it. I went and fixed Kit's keycard, and we went to go check to see if it worked or not. We found Karen outside the office waiting, complaining to my boss that her keycard didn't work either. Karen wandered away from my boss, rolled her eyes, and I smiled, and I told her I would take care of it. After checking to make sure Kit's keycard worked, I went downstairs to check the system, looked up Karen, and wouldn't you know it, her keycard was completely fine. In fact, it showed she had a master keycard. So I changed all of her permissions and limited her back to just her room only. I went upstairs and got my boss's attention because her office is next door to the ladies', and I mouthed "listen" and pointed. I opened the door and was all, "Hey, Karen. I went and checked your keycard in the system. Everything is good to go. In fact, it said you had a master key to the building, and per the company orders, since you are not a contractor or a company employee, I can't give you that access. So I had to revoke your status to just this room only. Can't have you bugging people on official business. Wink. Thanks for bringing your keycard to my attention." She started to object that she needed the master keycard because XYZ, and I was all, "Yeah, sorry. Maybe before, but I'm the facility manager, and you don't need to access anything except this office. And if you do, it's outside your pay grade. So you'll have to come to get me. Okay? Cool, thanks, bye." And then just closed the door on her mid-sentence. My boss was quietly laughing her ass off in her office and gave me an air high five. To be clear, I'm not talking down about my coworkers. They're fantastic people, and no, I'm not a suck-up. They work in education and bend over backwards to help students and customers get the information and help they need. The building mostly got shut down and neglected, and customers got lazy due to the C word. We offer free classrooms to those who need it, including a computer lab by reservation, first-come, first-served basis. The problems we ran into was that the previous FM passed away suddenly, and the replacement was temporary. Coupled with the C word, and this was our problem. My coworkers weren't able to enforce rules and regulations, and rooms were left destroyed and neglected, keys stolen, etc. Since my arrival, I've enforced the rules and allowed the staff to resume their normal duties, without having to clean up after and babysit customers. Karen isn't the staff. She is just renting an office. She has no business having access to our materials, supplies, or workspaces, especially when they're handling students' private information. 2. A decade ago, I was an admin for a hospital, One of 2 admin, a couple of techs, and a few application support people, and a couple of programmers. Our boss, the IT director, Fred, had a temper. Whenever something happened, if we didn't go directly to him for guidance, then he would get angry. Now, most of the team, he never yelled at or got mad at, because he didn't know enough of IT to understand their jobs, for some reason. Probably due to my demeanor at the time, not anymore, thanks to him. I just took it and did what was asked and what was needed. He would take his anger out on me. It was so bad that the team often referred to me as the sponge, able to take Fred's red-faced yelling after he vented. He was fine for a few days until something else set him off. The catalyst. One morning, our primary outward-facing web server died. This was not unexpected, as I had been telling Fred that it was odd and needed a refresh. But he called me an alarmist, and said as long as we had a system backup, we did, that it wasn't an issue. I mentioned if hardware died, we would have to have the hardware handy, but it fell on deaf ears. Well, when it died, I got an alarm about it and was in the data center trying to get it back up and running, when Fred comes in and tells me to get it working right away. I tell him I am already on it, but it is looking like the RAID controller is hosed. That I doubted I could get it up soon, and that I would need to harvest parts from decom servers to build one if he wanted it today, and order a new server immediately, that the specs were in his email from me. He tells me that I have 30 minutes to get it back up and running, or I will get written up for refusing an order and for neglecting my duties. I reply that even if I could get a server built and OS loaded in that time, it was going to take more than 30 minutes to copy the data over to the new server, that I could not change the laws of physics to suit his fancy. Sorry, I cannot change the laws of physics to suit his fancy. He replied with, "You now have 29 minutes," and walked off. Yeah, he wrote me up for it. I took an hour to get it operational, and the data took about as long to copy, but it was up in under 3 total. If I didn't sign, I would be terminated immediately. So I signed it, but added, under duress. The beginning of the end. A few months later, Fred came to my desk and asked what I was doing. I told him I was going over patches that needed to be applied to various servers and hardening the ones that could not be patched for various reasons. Fred asked me who told me to do that. He had assigned me a job and he expected me to get it done. The job he had assigned was setting up a laptop in one of the conference rooms for a CPR refresher class. That was next week. It was Wednesday, and I had all day that day and 2 more days to get it done. He chose me, and not a tech because, well, I never knew why, honestly. Even the techs were baffled, but you never argued with Fred. Anyway, I explained that I had plenty of time to get that done, and would ensure before I left on Friday that it would be waiting, and I would even come in early to brief the presenters. Well, that wasn't good enough. Fred proceeded to yell at me for 30 minutes in his office with the door closed per usual, about how I was insubordinate, and he paid me to do what I was told, when I was told to do it, and that everything I thought that needed to be done, I was to immediately forget it existed and do only what was assigned by him. I was to be at his disposal at any time, I was on call a lot too, and that unless something was physically on fire, I was to do only what he explicitly assigned to me. I said okay, cue malicious compliance. For the next several months, I did exactly as he instructed. I did not mention patches or scan for vulnerabilities. I did not even log into a server at all unless he told me I needed to do something specific. I didn't even restart services or disable terminated users unless he told me to. We would get a list of terminated users each week, but unless he told me to work the list, I did nothing. The other admin did the same as well, since it would have made his job impossible if he did it all. Then one day I got asked to apply for a position with corporate. I went to the interview and they already knew who I was and basically said they wanted me. They mentioned that policy stated they had to tell Fred, and I told them that if Fred found out, he would fire me because he wouldn't like the promotion over him. The role would have made me over his data center, but not his team. They said they doubted he would do that, so I said okay. Well, sure enough, when Fred got wind of my promotion, he fired me. The worst part, he fired me in a way that made it impossible for me to get the corporate job. They rescinded their offer, no reason given, but after speaking with a lawyer, it got changed to resigned because he would have made it look impossible to work for him if I had returned. The fallout. A few weeks later, I had another job, better pay, and I was the IT manager. About 6 months later, they had a data breach. It was nasty, all over the news. Fred was encouraged to resign. I learned much later that someone from my old team had contacted corporate and told them what happened and why Fred fired me, and he got in really hot water. Then the data breach happened, and he was going to be fired, and he knew it, so he resigned before they could fire him. I looked him up a few times after that. He tried life as a contract project manager, but never finished any projects. Now he is retired. Wonder why. If you're wondering how I got screwed out of my promotion, it went like this. Corporate offered me the job on Tuesday to start in 3 weeks. Fred fired me on Thursday. By Tuesday of the following week, corporate reached out and told me that due to me being fired, they were no longer able to extend their offer. The person that called me was not the person that hired me. I told them to contact the person that hired me because he knew this would happen. They said it is not their policy to do that, and that I am ineligible for a review. I even tried emailing the person that hired me, and he tried to go to bat for me, but corporate HR told him that I was not eligible for rehire. That is when I went to a lawyer. The lawyer wrote some letters and was able to get them to change my status, but because corporate hired someone already for that role, I would have to take my old role. I declined for obvious reasons. Thus, the resigned status. It was tempting to contact Fred and tell him that, I told him so or something like that, but of course I didn't because of my skill set and knowledge of their systems. It would have made me a suspect. Regardless, I have honor and integrity to not speak of things like vulnerabilities or network layouts. I wanted to, but I correctly felt that once I heard of the data breach, Fred would be on borrowed time, and he knew it. I genuinely felt bad for the team. I am sure they got lambasted by the executives and corporate. But most of the team is still there, and I hear the new IT director is really good. 3. It was a few years back, my friends got me Watch Dogs, a video game for my 20th birthday. The game was not out yet, so they pre-ordered it in GameStop. And they got a quite expensive edition, about €70. As the game was not out yet, I got some papers to retrieve it when it's released. It was actually Micromania, the French GameStop owned by GameStop. I will refer to GameStop so it makes it easier. The game had some delays and was released a year later, so I instantly went to GameStop to get my game the week it was officially released. I showed the papers to the cashier and owner, and he told me, "Sorry, but your gift card is expired." And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? The game just got released like 2 days ago. Seems like when you pre-order a game at GameStop, they give you a document that says you pre-ordered the game, so they keep it in stock, and a gift card of the amount of the game. And this one expired after a year, so a few weeks back. I tried to explain my situation to the owner. My friend pre-ordered the game, and I just came to get it when the game was out, nothing unusual. The guy was visibly upset as I didn't want to pay €70 for my birthday gift, already paid for by my friends. He told me that he'll have to call some guys to see what he could do. I heard him have a couple of laughs on the phone with the guys, so I thought it was going to be okay, since the owner seems to know the gift card guy. Big mistake, never assume someone actually cares about your situation. The owner told me that after speaking with the gift card guy, he can only get me €40 of the 70, and that I have to pay the remaining 30. I was furious. But I was also pretty shy and didn't want to make a scene. He told me I could fill out a complaint letter to GameStop to get my money back, but seriously, that was just an excuse to get me out quickly. I finally agreed to pay the remaining 30, and fill in a complaint when I got back home. I got redirected a couple of times, and I was getting furious with the situation. They didn't want to hear anything, and they often just did not respond at all. So after a week of me sending emails, I send something along the lines of, if I do not get a response back before tomorrow night, I'll start by spreading my story to social networks and notation services. I'll explain how I ended up paying €100 instead of 70 for a game, before taking it to court. Kind regards. I did get a response after this email, stating that gift cards were only available for 1 year. They didn't want to admit their mistake, but they were offering me 6 vouchers of $10 for my loyalty. I asked for €30 cash, but since I got 60 to spend on games, I took this as a win and accepted. They mailed me the 6 codes, and I happily went back to GameStop to buy some games. I didn't remember what I chose, but when I went to pay, the cashier, who was the same guy as last time, told me that he can only apply 1 voucher per buy. So since I got a €60 game, I'll have to pay the remaining 50 since he can only apply 1 €10 voucher. I literally froze like, what the fuck? Is there some hidden camera? Is this some kind of joke? I told him I won't pay for this game and take a look around the store. That's when I saw them. A big pile of €10 Steam gift cards. So I put on a big smile, told him I'll get this €10 Steam gift card. The guy was visibly confused, but accepted and applied my voucher, so I got it for free. Once he handed me the bill, I said thank you, and told him I'll also take this €10 Steam gift card. And also that one, and that one. Steam is an online platform to buy games, way easier and cheaper than GameStop, if you're unaware. The guy was visibly kinda angry and told me something like, "Wasn't it like 30 missing, not 60? While scanning all my codes and giving me my Steam gift cards. I said, yeah, but I got angry, which must have sounded a little fun since I was a really shy guy and looking so. In the end, I followed exactly what they said and ended up with €60 of free Steam gift cards when they wanted to trick me with their vouchers. I like to think that they didn't make a dime of profit with this, since they bought Steam gift cards for their real price from Steam. Needless to say, I never went back to another GameStop or Micromania ever in my life. Also worth noting that nowadays gift cards can't expire in France, but that was not the case back then. 4. I have been in the motorcycle industry for 20 plus years. This story is around 13 years old, so not super precise on the language used in convos, but I will be as accurate as I can remember. I once worked in a shop in a large city. There were about 8 technicians, split into 2 shifts. We had 4 days on, 2 off, then 6 on and 2 off. The other shift had the reverse days. The shop was run by a service department manager, and the owner of the shop was often not in the building. One day I come in after my 2 days off. On my lift bench is a brand new Harley-Davidson Dyna model, an obese Robert. At the end of the bench is a brand new Jim's performance engine on the floor still in the box. It was apparent that one of the other techs had loaded this bike on my bench, and then began the process of disassembling the bike to swap the engines. Dynas at the time came in different models, but also 2 different powertrain finishes, silver chrome and black chrome. We sometimes call the silver ones blonde and the black-engined ones brunettes. Don't ask me, I didn't start the trend of using this slang. Engine, transmissions, and primary covers are all the same color. We were in a bit slower season. The industry is somewhat seasonal because of winter in some northern climes. So this project belongs to the shop owner, and is a good job to get done while there are fewer customer units present to be worked on. One quick look at the motorcycle and the engine reveals that the motorcycle is blonde and the engine is brunette. Before my shift starts, I talk to the service manager. He confirms that my job for the day is to complete the engine swap that is already underway in my workspace. I try to ask a few questions. Are you sure? Because the service manager quickly interrupts me with, "Quit asking questions and do what I tell you." At this point, I know I won't get fired, and I don't care to indulge the service manager's shitty behavior. I start working on the engine swap on my bench, thinking I'll probably get stopped before the point of no return when someone realizes what is actually going on. I should probably point out that swapping an engine out of a 96 Dyna is not a quick job, and I'm dragging my feet a bit to give anyone else in the shop a chance to clue in the service manager. Stock engine comes out. Service manager is not present for me to check if he has anything to say about the job, so I carry on. It's getting to the end of the day. I'm mostly done putting the black engine into the bike with the silver transmission case and silver primary right beside it. This brand new 20,000 plus bike with a 5,000 plus engine looks really junky. At this time, the shop owner pays a visit to the service department. He sees me working on his new bike and comes over to see it. I watch the smile melt off his face as he gets about 8 feet away. I should probably mention that I have the male version of a resting bitch face. I have a bit of a scowl whenever I'm in my own head. I guess it makes for a good poker face sometimes in social situations. My face remains dark as the shop owner comes over to me, and stays that way through this interaction. Internally, though, I'm smirking. "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Putting the gym's engine into this bike." Why? Couldn't you see that this engine is black and the rest of the bike is silver?" Yes, I can." "Then why would you do this?" When I tried to mention it to the service manager, he told me to stop asking questions and go do as you're told. The boss pursed his face and walked away from me. I carried on with the job, now approximately 90% complete. The service manager appeared about 10 minutes later. He lacked his previous bluster when he told me, go ahead and take that engine back out of the bike and put it back in the box." Since it was near the end of the day, taking the engine back out took most of the next day. Epilogue. The bike did belong to the shop owner, and he had a different engine coming for this bike. The black engine was meant for a different project. I wasted 2 days for zero progress in the shop. The shop lost money because they had to pay my wages and had nothing to bill out for my time. I can't really say if the service manager learned a lesson or not. Not long after this, the economic housing bubble collapse of the US hit my country, and the morale of the shop tanked overnight. Nothing really changed. But when people heard there would not be any raises or bonuses for a year, they fled like rats from a sinking ship. At the peak, we lost 7 staff in 1 day. Some ended up changing industries and making less money. Some pursued passion projects. And some went on to better things with more money and better benefits. I fell into the latter. The shop was sold, and I don't think I know anyone working there anymore. 5. I am no longer a minister in a Christian church of about 300 people on the East Coast as of yesterday. At the time of writing, that was the 24th of January 2022. Things have been really tough all over the last several years for the church and me personally. COVID lockdowns, mother-in-law suicide, marriage almost done. I've had anxiety breakdowns, and this is on top of all the church drama. You experience people and circumstances at the best and worst in the ministry. I decided to step down from my role as a preacher at the end of November in 2021. In years past, the ministers have left on bad terms and it hurt the church, so I wanted to rise above that and be the person I preached about. So in reality, I wasn't doing anything special, just trying to be a respectful and kind guy. Gave the church like a 4-week notice with my resignation on the 1st of December. Only 2 weeks required, though. I was also due a 4-week paid sabbatical, just a rest period. But I was willing to forgo that for a shorter period of rest at the beginning of the year, and I would help the church out however I could. This is important for later. It's also important to know that times are tough to find good ministers right now. No one wants to deal with church drama anymore. There is a massive exodus of preachers, and I've officially joined the ranks. The leaders asked me to help them formulate a what's next plan, so I decided to be as helpful as possible. Here's the plan I submitted on the 6th of December. 1. I would become the interim preacher on the 1st of January 2022. I would take a rest from the 1st of January to the 23rd of January instead of a full sabbatical. Note, vacation resets at the beginning of every year. I have 4 weeks, so I could have been a jerk and kept quiet in January, took vacation in February, and then peaced out. 3. I would return to preach on the 30th of January, help lead the church, help find a backfill, help hand off my other duties. I oversaw the website, social media, and pretty much ran everything. I overworked myself, which led to my wrecked marriage, burnout, and resignation. 4. I had some vacation left in 2021, so I saved it for the last week in December. The church was closed anyways, so no big deal. I just really needed a break from preaching and church from the 2nd to the 23rd. Unfortunately, I got called back from vacation to preach on the 2nd because the other 2 ministers got sick and couldn't preach. So again, trying to be the good guy, I sacrificed my vacation to prepare a sermon and preached on the 2nd of January. Payday comes around on the 21st, and I don't get a deposit. I email the leaders who haven't spoke to me since the 2nd. What is going on? They decided I didn't deserve my sabbatical pay, even though I do, and I could have made it worse, and all they would give me is minimum wage for the time I worked beginning in February. I said no. Despite the disrespect and unloving nature, I gave them an offer. Pay out my due sabbatical, and I'll direct charge my time in February at my current hourly rate. What was their response on the 23rd of January, 2022? We have decided to terminate our professional relationship. Clean out your office and hand in your keys. Now, I made financial plans based on getting paid by the church. I told them this. I told them that I sacrificed my sabbatical in 2020 because of COVID, and the youth minister knocked up a girl less than a year out of youth group, so I couldn't take a sabbatical. And oh, guess what? They paid that youth minister full salary while he was on administrative discipline for 3 months. Messy situation. Maybe I'll tell more one day. At this point, I feel angry. I am pissed. I started my new job on the 3rd of January, but I also was planning on income from the church for the first few weeks until I got paid by my new job, and I had been telling lots of people I would be returning soon to preach again. I'm not bragging, but I was really well liked and loved by many people, and I helped lead the church through COVID to have its best year it has ever had since 2013. So, as of the 23rd of January 2022, I am no longer an acting representative of the church. Trigger malicious compliance. I am the admin on all the social media, websites, apps, web plugins, and more. I receive a text today, on the 24th, from one of the leaders. I got an email you removed yourself from Planning Center, which then brings up what other accounts do you hold, especially at the admin level, or more importantly, are the only admin on? I believe you are the only admin on Weebly. Would you assign me as admin on any account you are the only admin on? Appreciate it. Sorry, former boss man, I am no longer an acting representative of the church. Maybe you should have honored the plan I laid out last month. Figure out how to run the app, edit the website, and log into all the socials. Ha! Petty? Maybe. But I did everything I could to make things, not just right, but good for the church. Where did that get me? Kicked to the curb, but I have to admit that the Bible promised me such things. And if this is the worst of life, I have much to be thankful for. Lessons I learned. 1. Don't think for a moment people won't be selfish and act in their own self-interests. 2. I'm guilty of doing the same thing to others. 3. Life is messy inside and outside of the church. 4. Accept that all people, especially Christians, are broken people. Adjust your expectations and act accordingly. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 116. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I can only say in regards to the final story, the people that treated our minister friend quite poorly, those motherfuckers need Jesus. Now, and that's coming from me of all people. Alrighty, this goes up on Sunday. I'll try to get a neckbeard put together for next week. See, it depends on what I get and when, but I've got a start on it already, so that's good. Okay, I'm gonna head off and relax now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.